Reporting from the 2019 Alaska Federation of Natives Convention in Fairbanks, Alaska, I'm Trip Krause. At the annual convention, Governor Mike Dunleavy announced he's proposing legislation that recognizes tribal authority over education in their communities. KYUK's Christy Schellenberger learns about what the Tribal Compact means for the state.
Sandra Kowalski, a Nupiaq from Kotzebue, sits on the Alaska State Board of Education, and she says this announcement is just the first step.
The state of Alaska and tribal entities need to kind of create the framework around the master agreement, the financial mechanisms, all those other component pieces that make up in total a tribal compact, and that's not been developed yet, and that's part of the next step is to engage and provide feedback as we have these dialogues and discussions across the state.
But first, what is a compact? It's a formal agreement between governments that defines what role each one plays to provide services. In this case, the state of Alaska and tribal governments will together craft a framework that supports the kind of education that tribes want to have.
It can involve a lot of language and culture, activities with elders in the community, and really helping our children form an identity that's around their community where they come from, that's strong and positive.
Dunleavy says he intends to introduce legislation in the upcoming session to help craft that framework. Alaska House Representative Tiffany Zolkuski, a Bethel Democrat, says she's ready to work with Dunleavy, but she urges him to give tribes the resources they need.
I think it's awesome and a step in the right direction to talk about expanding the role of tribal compacting within the state of Alaska. But I think it's really important that it's not just cost shifting and it's not just putting the burden of providing state services onto communities or tribes.
Tribes have expressed frustration with the Dunleavy administration over his budget proposals. One example came during his speech Thursday at AFN. Protesters interrupted with drumming, and dozens stood up and turned their backs to him, a single fist held high. Some held Recall Dunleavy signs. At the AFN convention 2 years ago, then Governor Bill Walker and his administration signed a first-of-its-kind agreement. It's called the Alaska Tribal Child Welfare Compact, and it gives tribes more control over their children. The Walker administration prioritized consulting with tribes. Zolkuski says she hopes that Dunleavy understands how important funding the compacts are.
It's imperative that the state provide the resources to accompany these compacts that will make tribes successful, because ultimately it will benefit the state of Alaska, and the state of Alaska will ultimately be successful.
Reporting from the AFN convention in Fairbanks, I'm Christy Schellenberger.
Much of the convention's second day was looking at the importance of social and political issues. Cook Inlet Region Incorporated took a strong pro-recall effort when Sophie Minich took the stage before the AFN delegation. The CIRI president and CEO said the corporation watched the early days of Dunleavy's administration with hopeful optimism, but that optimism soured during the budget process when the Alaska governor vetoed state funding for several programs.
CIRI decided that the damage that this governor's illegal actions would inflict on our state and on our people, on our businesses, was too much to bear, and it was our responsibility. It was our duty to take a stand, to oppose his actions, and to support his removal from office.
The U.S. Census Bureau director gave a brief overview of the 2020 U.S. Census, which gets its start in Tooksik Bay in January. Stephen Dillingham met with some reporters after the address to talk about some key questions Alaska residents have about the census count.
But our people are trained really to ask the correct questions and to collect the data and make sure that everyone is counted.
Special thanks to KYUK's Christy Schellenberger and Greg Kim, freelance reporter Emily Schwing, and Wesley Early from KOTZ. In Fairbanks, I'm Trip Krause.
The AFN Newscast, produced by KNBA and Koahnic Broadcast Corporation. Funding by Arctic Slope Regional Corporation, Rasmussen Foundation, ConocoPhillips, the CIRI Foundation, Exxon Mobil Alaska, South Central Foundation, Manilik Association, Chalista Corporation, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Cook Inlet Lending Center, and Foundation Health Partners. This is a production of KNBA, Koahnic Broadcast Corporation, and Native Voice One, the Native American radio service.